Welcome back, it's me, Lou. For today's Warhammer vlog, we are going to feature my Mantis Legion, or Mantis Warriors, as they're sometimes called. Alright, so last week I was at one of my local game shops, and I was going through um, some of their old used models. A lot of their used models, they'll just throw in like sandwich baggies and whatnot. And then I was going through them, and I'm like, oh wow, it looks like someone parted ways with their Mantis Legion. And I found two sandwich baggies priced at $20 each. The models looked like they're painted to a tabletop standard, and I'm like, I gotta pull the trigger on this. I think I got a good deal here. So for a total of $40, I got all these models, and they were already based and they were already painted, and I think I got a really great deal for it. So when I bought these, when I was at the shop, my first thought was, oh, these are decked out in green and gold. So my assumption was that these are probably Mantis Warriors. So I'm like, you know what, I think that's what I'm gonna go with. So I bought them, brought them home. I kind of spruced up the paint jobs. Like for me, I consider myself to be a very, very average painter. And the person who previously owned these, I think they were like probably like a tiny, tiny step below where I'm at. So for me, I felt comfortable fixing them up. I kind of cleaned up the paint jobs, especially around the faces and the eyes. They were kind of sloppy with the helmets. And I didn't want to get too crazy detailed with this. I just wanted to, add a little bit of extra life to them and just touch them up enough so I felt like these were like officially my own. So I kind of cleaned them up, dressed up the bases a little bit better, and yeah, for like $40, hell yeah, this is awesome. So the way when I found these at the shop, there were two baggies. One baggie I think was it had the Hell Blasters, and then it also had the Intercessors right here. So there were 5 Primaris Hell Blasters, this guy, and then there were, I think, 10 Primaris Intercessors. So the original owner, I think they used, I think it's Martian, it's not Iron Earth, what's it called? Martian Iron Crust for the bases. And then I decided, I was going to add some tufts to it. So I kind of went with like a pink and yellow tuft, kind of give it more of a Martian landscape. So I did that with all the miniatures. For the Aquila on the chest, I went with, I think, a metallic gold. Same with the shoulder pauldrons. The one thing that these are kind of missing is that the Mantis Warriors have black backpacks, but I don't like that. I kind of like this, keeping them green. So I just kept them green, and I just decided to paint the exhausts silver right there and black, just to give it a little bit more detail. The previous owner did a pretty good job with the panel lining and the washes, so I didn't really feel the need to do that. I'm not that great of a painter, so I kind of refrained from doing any like edge highlighting or dry brushing. For me, as long as the models are clean, presentable, and tabletop ready, I'm happy with that. And and ideally, I'd like to improve with my painting skills, but I'm kind of limited with my time because of like work and personal life. So for me, if I can at least get these things to be ready for the table, I'm happy. So yeah, one baggie for $20 gave me, this half right here. Nothing but Hell Blasters and Intercessors. Here's the Intercessor Sergeant. Right here. Again, very basic paint job. I'm terrible at painting faces, and so was the guy who owned this before me. So I just left this alone. I'm not sure what the color scheme is for the Mantis Warriors in terms of the Sergeant. I don't know if the helmet, like I know for like Ultramarines, the Sergeant's decked out with a red helmet, and then the veterans are white. But I'm not sure what the color scheme is necessarily for the Mantis Warriors. So I just kind of left the the sergeant's helmet, you know, the stock green with the yellow face mask and the red eyes. So for an additional $20, the other baggie had this. It had 3 Inceptors. Right here. Here's one of them. This model needed some work. The 3 Inceptors, the previous owner, they discarded the flight stands, and what they did was they glued the Inceptors directly to the bases, which wasn't a good idea because I think 2 of them broke off, and the other one, if you see the Inceptors, they're not flat-footed. You know, they kind of have, they're posed so that it looks like they're floating. And the way this guy had it glued down to the base, it looked like he was like ballet dancing. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. So I snapped it off the base, and I'm like, I didn't have any flight stands. So I'm like, I'm going to have to figure out a way to make a flight stand. I tried looking up some tutorials online and on YouTube, and my modeling skills likewise aren't the greatest. And everything I saw was like this complete overkill. It seemed like people put too much thought in developing a flight stand. And I'm like, you know what, I want to keep this as simple as possible to stay within, you know, my skill level. So I just went into my toolbox, found some really thin nails, and I'm like, I'm just going to use nails for flight stands. And it worked. You know, for me, it's a clean look. It's, you know, it's not too much of an eyesore. And it just worked out. So, oh, another thing is that all my minis here, they're all magnetized, because I like to keep all my miniatures in these like metal oven trays. And it's nice too, because since they're magnetized, you know, you can stand them up. They're not going to tip over, and they kind of stay in place. And as you can see here, these can be held on the walls. And the cool thing too with this oven tray I'm using is that it comes with this protective lid. So I could put this lid down, and it affords some space on the top. You know, some of the taller models like my Captain here and my Primaris Ancient, they're a little bit taller, so I have them magnetized to the walls of the tray. And it fits perfectly. It works out well. So the other baggie, in addition to having the 3 Inceptors, it also had 2 Lieutenants. I believe this is the 8th edition Lieutenant right here. Let's get this guy into focus. Focus. Yeah, okay, so here's one of the Lieutenants. Again, I added the graph tufts, cleaned up the paint job, made them look a little bit more pretty. Now, normally, like with all my Space Marine models, I like to drill out the barrels on the guns, but I'm like lazy nowadays. So what I did for the barrels right there, I just took like a really fine pointed Sharpie and just dotted it, which for me from a distance it works. So it's like I said, you know, work smarter, not harder. So if I could take shortcuts, I'll take shortcuts. So I just used the Sharpie, just dotted in the barrel. And it looks so much nicer than just having it, you know, this silver all around, you know. From a distance, it creates the illusion that it's actually drilled out. Yeah, so here's the Lieutenant. And then, all right, so I have a theory on this set of Mantis Legion. I think all these models were taken from the starter set, No Fear. If you remember, that starter set came out years ago. I think it came with the Space Marines, which we have right here. And I think there were 3 different price levels. I think No Fear was the mid-level box set, and I think the cheaper box set below this was First Strike. And if you remember, No Fear came with Space Marines, and on the opposing end, I think it was like Death Guard with, like, you know, Poxwalkers and whatnot. And I think this was the stock Lieutenant that came in the box set, I think. Or it might have been the other one. I don't remember. But this is another Lieutenant. This one has the power sword. I like this model a lot. I like the pose. This is a really cool pose. It's very dynamic. So yeah, there's one Lieutenant. And then I think for the box set, I think for the HQ, it came with Captain and Gravis armor, which is this guy right here. Of all the models, I think this is the one I kind of worked on the most. It seemed like the previous owner kind of neglected this one when he painted him up. So I kind of cleaned him up, added a lot more paint to him, and to bring out more of the details. The heraldry on top of his helm is kind of bent at the tip, and I don't want to risk breaking it, so I'm just going to leave it alone. This is a really cool model. I like this guy a lot. He's kind of like chonky, and he has this cape. Really cool. And then the model I think I'm probably most proud of that I worked on in this assortment is probably the Primaris Ancient. I think ideally I should give this guy a white helmet, but like I said earlier in the video, I'm not sure what the color scheme is for the Mantis Warriors when it comes to like their veterans and their sergeants. And for me, working with white paint is kind of annoying too. White paint for me comes out kind of like chalky sometimes and pigmented. But this is a nice model. And I was so happy with myself because the previous owner left the banner blank in the middle. And I'm like, I really need to add the Mantis logo somewhere. You know, if these dudes aren't going to have them on the shoulders, at least, you know, the Primaris Ancient should have it on the banner. So I had a very fine-tipped Sharpie, and I just, you know, very carefully drew in the Mantis logo on the banner. I know some people out there are like super skilled with a paintbrush. I'm not one of them. So for me, working with a Sharpie was like heaven, you know. So yeah, I like this model. I think this is probably my favorite model visually of this little army. And I kind of plan on developing this army a little bit further. I kind of have I want to add some assault intercessors to this, and at least a tactical squad, you know. But that's pretty much it. You know, this was a fun little project. Like I said, I love restoring like discarded models or previously used ones. I like to add a little bit more life to them. I like to kind of paint them up to make them feel like my own. And, you know, I thought this was a steal, you know, for like, you know, $20 for the Hell Blasters and Intercessors, and another 20 for the Inceptors and the Lieutenants and the Captain and the Ancient. I thought that was such a great deal. So $40 altogether. And this was like one of the faster projects I worked on too. You know, since most of these were painted up, you know, they just needed, you know, the ones that had broken pieces needed fixing. The Inceptors needed flight stands, and, you know, a little bit of paint here and there just kind of like really brought them to life. And the nice thing with this, I finished this, I think, like in a little over a day. So, which is, for me, working fast. Like, I have a set of orcs. I have like an orc army I'm working on that I started back right after Adepticon. And it's like that Adepticon was what, late March, and we're already like October. And my orcs have just been sitting on my table. It's like I have them like primed. I have the base colors on like, I think at least 70% of them, and it's just taking me forever. I love painting stuff like Marines and Necrons because their color schemes are so simple, their details are kind of limited, but man, it's my orcs, it's like killing me. I gotta get them done. Alright, so enough babbling. Just wanted to share my Mantis Legion with you. You know, if you're ever at your local game shop, or if you're at a convention, always look through the used models. You never know what you'll find, especially if you can find a great deal. So for me, it was just awesome finding this small little, you know, Mantis Legion for a great price. You know, the models are pretty much, they were like 90% of the way there. And for me, they just need a little bit more love and care, you know, to bring them up to this stage. All right, so with that being said, let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you at the next one. All right, later.